Man suffers because he clings to things that are transient. Now, tell me, how many times have you suffered over something that, in the end, simply passed? How many sleepless nights, how many moments of anxiety, all over something that, looking back now, doesn't even make sense anymore? We grow up hearing that life is full of problems, but have you ever stopped to consider that the real problem might be this very belief? Fear, anxiety, frustration. None of these are caused by what happens outside. They are born in your mind. It's not the challenges that crush you, but the meaning you give to them. The problem isn't the storm. The problem is thinking it will never end. People say some difficulties are impossible to overcome, but impossible according to whom? Who decided the limits of what you can or cannot do? Have you ever noticed that? As if there's a hidden pleasure in playing the victim, in telling your own story like a Greek tragedy. But here's a secret: life is not against you. It just happens. So what you do with it is entirely up to you. You can see difficulties as walls or as stepping stones, or you can decide right now that you are bigger than any of them. At the end of the day, problems don't actually exist. Have you ever seen people go through unimaginable tragedies, yet somehow they keep going, inspiring others? And have you also seen people collapse over the smallest inconveniences? What's the difference? Others spend their entire lives expecting it to be. The truth is, you can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you choose to respond. And that's the only thing that truly matters. The true nature of being. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. What if everything you believe yourself to be, your name, your story, your fears, your achievements, was nothing more than a well-rehearsed illusion? Since the day you were born, you were taught that you are an individual, separate from the world. A being with a beginning, middle, and end. But what if I told you that this is the biggest lie you've ever been told? The real you is not your body, not your mind, not the endless stream of thoughts running through your head. The real you is pure, limitless consciousness. At some point, you bought into the illusion that you were small, okay? That you need to achieve something to be complete, okay? That you need to prove yourself to the world. The problem is, the more you search for yourself out there, the more lost you become. The entire system is designed to keep you distracted. You are bombarded with messages telling you that you need to become someone, accomplish something, prove your worth. But here's a brutal truth. You are never anything less than whole. Never anything less than enough. You don't need to add anything to yourself. In fact, you need to unlearn everything you were taught about who you are, because true peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from realizing that nothing was ever missing. If today you feel an emptiness inside you, it's because you've spent too much time believing that your worth is in what you own. But all of that is temporary, okay? And if your peace depends on what is temporary, it will never be real. The only thing separating you from absolute freedom is the belief that you are not yet free. You cling to the past, the future, fear, regret, but none of that exists outside your mind. What truly exists is now, this moment, this very second. But most people are too busy dwelling on yesterday or fearing tomorrow to realize that the only place where life actually happens is here. So tell me, what if you just let go of all that baggage? You would realize that there is nothing to do, nothing to change, nothing to fix. You are already everything you need to be, and you always have been. The path to liberation. The prison is not in the bars, but in the mind, and so is freedom. Go through life believing you are a prisoner of circumstances, that your happiness depends on what happens out there, that you will finally be able to breathe the day all your problems are solved, all your goals are reached, all your imperfections are fixed. But that day never comes, 'cause there is always another obstacle, another goal, another problem. You ever asked yourself why? Simple, because the prison was never outside. It has always been inside you. Chain yourself to your own thoughts, the stories you tell yourself, the fear of losing something that was never truly yours to begin with. And as long as you believe in these invisible chains, you will never be truly free. The freedom you seek is not in the future. It's not in the money you don't have yet, the validation you haven't received, the perfect life you haven't built. It's here, now. The moment you realize that nothing was ever holding you back. The fear that paralyzes you isn't real. It's just a collection of words your mind repeats, trying to keep you safe inside your comfort zone. But safety is an illusion. No matter how much you try to protect yourself, life will remain unpredictable, okay? And the more you fight to control the uncontrollable, the more you suffer. The secret: stop resisting. Let go. Trust the flow of existence without needing all the answers. True awakening doesn't happen when you learn something new, okay? It happens when you unlearn everything that was keeping you trapped. You don't need permission to be free. You don't need anyone's approval, nor guarantees that everything will work out. Freedom begins the moment you stop waiting. When you realize that nothing out there has power over you unless you give it power. So tell me, how much longer will you keep holding on? How much longer will you let fears that don't exist dictate your life? The path to liberation is right in front of you, but no one can walk it for you. The choice is yours. Now. The power of love and consciousness. Where there is love, there is no fear. Pause for a moment and think, how many things have you done out of fear? How many decisions have you made, not because you truly wanted to, but because you were afraid of what might happen if you didn't? Now, imagine a world where every action you take is driven by love, not fear. How different would your life be? The problem is, from an early age, you were taught to react, to protect yourself, to be suspicious. We grow up believing that life is a battlefield, that we must always be on guard. But what if I told you that the only real war is happening inside? Your mind, the enemy, isn't out there. It's the fear you feed every single day. Love is not just a sentimental for romantics. It is the very essence of who we are. But over time, we drift away from it. We build walls, wear masks, put on armor. We believe that showing love is weakness, that trusting too much makes us vulnerable. But the truth is, the opposite. Love is the only force strong enough to dissolve all suffering. And I'm not talking about empty, superficial love, filled with pretty words and no depth. I'm talking about conscious love, state of being where you realize there is no separation between you and the world. It's a state where you finally understand that you don't need to seek love from anyone else because it has always been within you. The mind lies. It tells you that you are small, incomplete, that you need to achieve something to be happy. But the heart knows. It is always known. When you silence the noise of the mind, you begin to feel what has been there all along. And in that state, there is no room for fear, for anxiety, for attachment. Everything simply flows. You stop fighting life and start dancing with it. Love doesn't solve problems, it dissolves the illusion that they exist. When you look at the world through the eyes of love, you realize that nothing was ever against you. The universe has always been on your side. It has always been waiting for you to remember who you truly are. The path to realization, okay? What you are looking for is already inside you. Tell me, how much longer? How much longer will you keep believing that something is missing? How much longer will you postpone life, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect situation, the external validation that will never be enough? You spend your days planning, worrying, trying to predict the unpredictable. And in the end, what's left? A life spent waiting. Waiting for the end of problems. Waiting for recognition. Waiting for the day when, finally, everything will make sense. But what if I told you that day will never come? Because it doesn't exist, but because it has already arrived and you didn't notice. The mistake is believing that realization is somewhere in the future. Hey, at some distant point you need to reach. But how can you reach something that is already here? How can you find something that was never lost? You search for peace while feeding anxiety. You search for happiness while clinging to suffering. You search for freedom while holding on to the same limiting beliefs. And that's why it feels so difficult. You are chasing something that is already yours. Life is not holding you back. The world is not against you. The only thing separating you from wholeness is the illusion that you're not there yet. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Look around. What's missing right now? Not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, but right now. If you quiet your mind, even for a few seconds, you will realize something profound. There is nothing wrong. There never was. Everything has always been exactly where it needed to be. The problem was never the world. The problem has always been your resistance to what is. You cling to labels, to stories, to expectations, without realizing that they are nothing more than projections of your own mind. But reality is not in the mind. It is in direct experience, in the simple act of being. Realization is not some magical event, a moment where everything aligns and you finally become someone different. Realization is recognition, an awakening, a flash of clarity where you suddenly see the truth. There was never anything to change, nothing to fix, nothing to achieve. True freedom is not a victory. It is the absence of the need to win anything. You don't need to become something. You already are. You are already whole. You are already enough. What's missing is not something external. What's missing is simply for you to see it. So tell me, will you keep waiting? Will you keep convincing yourself that you're not ready yet? Or will you simply stop, breathe, and finally see the plan? Obvious. The truth is, you are already free. You are already complete. You always have been, okay? But you will only realize it the moment you stop searching. If you want, subscribe to the channel for more reflections like this.